So today we're going to be talking about something that's highly misunderstood by a large portion of the SEO community, but it's definitely something you want to understand correctly because they are growing in importance over time and they can have pretty big effects on your rankings and traffic that you're getting from Google. And that, of course, is Google's spam updates. So in this video, we're going to be covering everything about Google spam updates, including the one that just rolled out a couple of days ago. We're going to be talking about what they usually target. We'll talk about what this one is currently targeting. We'll talk about how to avoid getting hit by these updates and potentially losing a lot of traffic. We'll talk about what to do if you actually do get hit by one of these and how you can recover from it. And we'll talk about why your pages are having trouble getting indexed or maybe even getting de-indexed. So be sure to watch the end because there's a lot of really important stuff here. All right, let's get into it. So I'm Chris Gigis and I help brands get found online through SEO, AI, and comprehensive digital marketing solutions, but you can click the link in the description to learn more about me or if you'd like to work together. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for my mailing list so you can get instant access to my shared SEO documents folder, including things like my AI editing checklist, which we'll be going over a little bit later in this video. So like we mentioned before, Google announced a new spam update about 2 days ago. This is the August 2025 spam update. You can see it here on the Google search status dashboard, and when things are finished, they'll actually tell you that it's completed. You can see right now that it's marked as active. And then over on Semrush Sensor, we can see things are still in the red, meaning that things are very volatile on Google right now. There's a lot of websites changing positions. Lots of websites are losing a lot of traffic. Lots of websites are probably gaining a lot of traffic because something has to replace them. But really, things have been in the red for quite some time now since the last Google Core update started, which is different from a spam update. And even for the past couple of years, things have just really been in the red quite a lot as Google has continued to really shake things up in their SERPs, add a bunch of AI features, really try to combat what they see as AI content spam on the internet, and a bunch of other stuff. So Semrush Sensor is saying it's a Google quake. I don't really think things are quite that drastic with this update. We've just been in the red for quite some time now. One of the big misconceptions I see about these spam updates a lot is because it has the word spam in it, people think that it's about links. Usually when people think about spam, just what comes to mind is backlinks, backlink spam. So they think if they got hit by a Google spam update that it had something to do with their backlinks. But there's actually a lot more to these spam updates than just links. And I think that actually for most of the time, these updates are not about links at all. Mary Haynes put out an email talking about this update, and she says, usually if it's an update related to links, Google will specifically mention that. I've checked and nothing has changed in the spam documentation. And we'll come back to Mary's email more here in a bit. For right now, I just want to get this out of the way that things are not always about links when we're talking about these spam updates. Corey also had a really good post on X that I saw, and it's one of the better posts I've seen about spam updates. And he just lays things out very simply. He says, if you see a spike in de-indexed or crawled but not indexed URLs right after Google rolls out a spam update, chances are your site is caught in that filter. And what he's talking about here is Google Search Console. You can click on pages over in indexing to see how many of your pages are indexed, how many are not indexed, and you can see reasons as to why they are not indexed. So he's saying if you see a large increase in de-indexed or crawled but not indexed, there's chances are that you are getting hit by a spam update, and this would be related to your content, not related to any of the backlinks that you've either built or bought or have come to you naturally. He then says if rankings drop but pages remain indexed, it's more likely tied to a link spam update. So again, let's say your traffic went down and then you came over to Search Console and the number of indexed pages didn't change at all, but you notice significant traffic losses, then it could be a good chance that your links were devalued in the spam update. But the good news about getting hit for links is that it's not like getting a manual action. So if you're over in Search Console and you look at security and manual actions and click manual actions, this is where Google will tell you if you've got a penalty. Of course, no issues detected here. So lucky me, no penalty today. But even if you get hit by a spam update, you will not see anything in your Google Search Console. What you'll actually see is something that looks a little bit like this, and I don't think this site got hit by the spam update. The spam update, of course, is here. I'm just using this as an example, but maybe your traffic is at about this level, then the spam update rolls around, you will see your traffic kind of go down and then just kind of plateau at a new level. And again, there's no penalty here. There's nothing you need to do. Google has basically said, hey, you are getting credit for all of these links, and so your rankings were up here. We've increased our detection of what we think are bad links or links that we don't want to count. So now we've devalued those and you are no longer getting credit for them, but you're not in trouble for them. And like we said before, there'll be nothing in Google Search Console showing that you were hit by this. You'll just have to know when a spam update happened. Ahrefs shows these down here at the bottom, where you can look at Google's search status dashboard over here for a history of updates. And you can look at what your traffic did after that. So like Corey said, you noticed that nothing really weird was going on with indexing. You just lost a bunch of traffic after an update. It's probably about links for you then. But you might have seen an large increase in the amount of pages on your website that were no longer indexed. And if that's the case, it was most likely about your content or something else on your website that Google is saying, hey, things aren't quite right here. But lucky for us, Google tells us what they're looking for as far as their spam guidelines. And before you say, hey, look, this guy is paying attention to Google's guidelines, what a loser, Google's guidelines don't matter. Guys, if you are going to be doing SEO, and especially if you're going to try to bend Google's rules a little bit, I highly, highly suggest paying attention to Google's guidelines so you can try to protect yourself. Remember that not everything in here is something that they're very good at detecting, but it's the direction they're trying to move in. And so if you're doing any of this stuff, we need to try to be careful as, smart SEOs, even if we're black or gray hat, and try to do our best to stay a couple moves ahead of Google so that the websites we're working on don't lose all their traffic one day. So real quick, let's go over Google's spam policies and highly suggest that you read over these things yourself when you get a little bit of time. First up, we have cloaking. It says showing a page about travel destinations to search engines while showing a page about discount drugs to users. I don't think any of you guys have much to worry about with cloaking unless you're doing some kind of scammy stuff here. Next up, doorway abuse. So basically the pages are just intended to rank and then you funnel them to somewhere else, and the pages that's actually ranking doesn't do anything on it. Most people watching this will not really have this issue. Next up, we have expired domain abuse. And before you say, hey, expired domains are dead, it doesn't work anymore, trust me, they are still working very well if you're doing 301 redirects or if you're building websites on top of them. You just have to do things a little bit more naturally. They say you need to avoid buying expired domains and putting content on the website that is very unrelated to what the website used to be about, and you're just using its pre-existing backlinks. You're using all that link juice that the site had accumulated over the years so you can get these quick ranking boosts. Next up, we have hacked content. If your website's hacked, of course, you need to get that figured out. Hidden text and link abuse. Again, I don't think most people watching this video have anything to worry about here. This is when you're doing really old school kind of black hat SEO stuff, like making this text white so it blends in on the page, and the white text would just have your keywords over and over and over again. Keyword stuffing, and this one's a little bit more interesting to me because I think the way that Google calculates keyword stuffing has started to change over the years, and I think they've gotten a little bit more aggressive with what they consider keyword stuffing. I think even what a lot of SEOs used to do as far as writing content and getting their keywords in their content, using a tool like Surfer SEO or Neuron Writer to interject keywords into your content, I think you could actually get yourself in a little bit of trouble with this by over optimizing if you just try to jam everything in without really paying attention to what you're doing. I've actually got a whole other video on this coming out, I believe, next week, but I'll talk about that more fully then. But anyways, just be aware that trying to force all of these keywords into your content is not really what you need to be doing anymore. I was looking at a website the other day and the client was saying, hey, I want all of these 29 keywords to be on this page and we got to use them multiple times, etc. I went and looked at the top ranking page that was actually ranking for all of these keywords much higher than they were. And 24 of those 29 keywords were used 0 times. They only had 5 of those keywords on the page, and they used them very sparingly, much less than the client had used them. What this tells us is Google is much smarter at determining what keywords kind of go together and what needs to be included on the page to actually rank for those keywords. So for example, for the keyword link building agency, Google knows that a lot of these keywords mean the exact same thing, and you don't necessarily have to have them on your page, and Google will automatically let you rank for them if you're ranking for the head term. Anyways, more on this on a later video. Next up, we have link spam. They're really saying that all backlinks for the purposes of doing SEO or trying to rank higher should not be built. So we'll talk about link spam more here in a bit, but TLDR, the answer is just you need to build quality links, which I talk about a lot more in the other videos on my channel. So definitely head over there to check out all of these link building videos where I talk about it super in depth for hours and hours. But anyway, if you're liking the video, guys, go ahead and give the video a like and give my channel a sub. It helps me out a lot and lets me keep creating all this content for you. Next up, we have machine generated traffic, aka CTR manipulation or bot traffic. If Google detects this, they consider it spam, so you could risk your rankings and traffic. Next up, if you have any malware or doing anything malicious on your website, then we have misleading functionality. So again, don't try to scam people. And then we have one of the most important ones, scaled content abuse. And what they're talking about here is creating a bunch of content at one time with very little effort by you. So basically just using AI to create a bunch of content, right? Using generative AI tools or similar tools to generate many pages without adding value for users, scraping feeds or results to generate a lot of pages and not providing additional value by yourself, combining different content from web pages without adding value. And these three are really the main things people are getting in a lot of trouble these days. So if you're using AI content, guys, don't get me wrong. I love using AI. I use AI in every process that I use while I'm working, right? Including generating content. However, I cannot recommend that you just go and copy paste a bunch of low effort AI content. Even with minimal tweaks, I would be very careful with what you're doing. Google really hates this. Just think about this. As of this year, the number of websites on the internet stands around 1.12 billion websites. But of those, about 200 million are active, almost 200,000 new websites per day. And this will just continue to grow. So Google has a problem here, is just ballooning out in size. And at the same time, people are now using AI to generate content because why wouldn't they? It's easy to do. It's very cheap to do. So not only is it just growing bigger, but the number of pages and the amount of content is growing very quickly as well. And Google, of course, needs to fight against that because if you got all of these websites, 200,000 new websites per day, everyone's generating AI content, it becomes a huge resource problem for Google to try to measure all of this, to try to catalog all of it, index it. They absolutely do not want to waste money on indexing all of this stuff. And if you are using AI content, remember the shared documents folder I showed you earlier, just go ahead and subscribe on my website, link in the description. You get access to it immediately. And these are things that I'm always doing when I am putting AI content on my website to make sure that we don't run into any problems down the line and potentially get a bunch of pages de-indexed or just lose a bunch of traffic or get hit with some kind of penalty and lose all of our trust with Google. Google thinking that you are spam is definitely not the path that you want to go down. If it does happen, you may never be able to regain your trust with Google, and all of that work, all of those backlinks you built to the website, everything might just get flushed down the toilet. So be careful with this stuff. Scraping, again, you're just talking about scraping a bunch of websites, taking all the content from these websites and putting it up on your own site without really doing anything to it or changing it. Site reputation abuse is pretty much known as parasite SEO, putting your content on someone else's website. Sneaky redirects, sending people to somewhere else when they're not really expecting it. Thin affiliation, if you are an affiliate SEO, you can't just put all the general information about the product. You need to be doing a bunch of actual testing and adding some actual value other than the lazy affiliate stuff that people have been doing for the past decade or so. User-generated spam, most of you won't have to worry about this, but if you have blog comments turned on and people are just leaving tons of spammed out blog comments on your blog to like Viagra and a bunch of stuff like that, definitely going to want to get that checked out. And then some stuff down here at the bottom, which you don't really need to worry about. Legal removals, personal information removals, policy circumvention, scam, and fraud. So hopefully that's not you. So really the things I would look out for the most in these spam updates are keyword stuffing, link spam, and scaled content abuse. Most of the time, these are going to be the three things that get you in the most trouble. And I'll go ahead and say that I think scaled content abuse and potentially keyword stuffing are the things that get people in the most trouble with these spam updates all the time, not just this one. And then back to Mary's email, she noticed some changes in Google's quality rater guidelines towards the beginning of the year. And I want to go over these real quick. First, they address filler content. They're basically saying if you have lots of unhelpful filler content at the top of your article, the article is about black hat link building tactics, and your first paragraph is, what is a backlink? Don't do that anymore. Old SEO. Just get to the point, get people what they want when they're landing on your page. Next up, a large quantity of prominent filler makes it difficult to find the helpful main content. Ads, SC, and filler MC distract from helpful MC. So again, if you have ads and a bunch of other stuff going on and it's hard to find what they're actually looking for, this is a big no-no. Here's more stuff on scaled content abuse, which they changed. Little effort or originality, no editing or manual creation. Focused on creating large amounts of unoriginal content that provides little to no value for website visitors compared to other similar pages on the web. So yes, your content can be good, but if there's a bunch of other websites that say the exact same thing as you and you don't add anything, what's the point of your website? What's the point of your page? Like we were showing you on ChatGPT earlier, the internet is completely ballooning out, and Google does not want to index all of this stuff, especially when it's all low quality auto-generated stuff saying the exact same thing. They're saying if all or almost all of the main content on the page is copied, paraphrased, embedded, auto or AI generated, or reposted from other sources. Again, it's paraphrased if it's just saying the exact same thing as other websites, but it's saying it a little bit differently. What they're looking for: original information, reporting, insightful analysis, or interesting information that is beyond the obvious. If the content draws on other sources, does it avoid simply copying or rewriting those sources and instead provide substantial additional value and originality? An algorithm can very quickly determine if you are just covering all the exact same points, if you're having all the same entities and all the same relations. This is good, this is bad, here's how you do this, and it's the same steps. You actually have to provide something that's a little bit different. Consider the extent to which a human being actively worked to create satisfying content. Again, this can apply to images and videos as well. And that's pretty much the most important stuff here. Thanks, Marie, for the good write-up as usual. So what should you do if you got hit by a Google spam update? First of all, if you looked at things, you looked in Search Console and you didn't think it was about backlinks and you think maybe it was actually about content on your website, you're going to want to remove any content that very obviously could trigger Google's spam guidelines. And if you don't remove it, you're going to want to edit it significantly. Moving forward, for all content that you're adding to your website, of course, make sure that it meets these bars of quality. Make sure you're not just spamming AI, make sure you're actually adding something to the article. And again, this AI editing checklist will help you out a lot with that. And last up, make sure you are building quality links. If your rankings are up here, then Google comes and takes away, 1/3 or 1/2 of your rankings. That could be a lot of money you've essentially lost right here, or Google saying these links don't count anymore. So when you are building backlinks, make sure that you're building quality links. You're doing things like building on relevant websites. They're actually ranking for keywords that are related to your niche or related to something that could be considered a shoulder niche to you. Again, a ton more link building videos on my channel. If you didn't know, I used to own a link building agency, which I've since sold. So some people would say I know what I'm talking about. I'll let you determine that. But you could watch this video right here, The Truth About Backlinks in 2025, how I build backlinks to boost my brand in LLMs and Google. And there's a bunch more here. So for me, if I'm being honest, spam updates have never really been something that's been too scary for me. I've seen websites lose a bit of rankings because their links were discounted, but it's never that big of a deal. I've never had one of my own websites just get completely smashed in the ground because I've scaled a bunch of AI content, but that's really not something I've ever done in the first place anyway. I've always been super careful with all my AI use. Keep Corey's post in here in mind. These are some very good tips. And remember that these spam updates are usually not about link spam. And if it is about link spam, they usually will say something about it in the language that they use when they're making the post. So if you got hit, and this page is getting very messy right now, if you did get hit, just honestly assess things, right? Try to really figure out, am I breaking Google's guidelines? I know everyone thinks their content is perfect, but I guarantee you that's not the case. Just try to be really honest with yourself. How unique is your content? Could this be considered spam according to Google's guidelines? Are my pages having trouble getting indexed? Does Google think my website is trash? Have I been building low quality links? And yes, many link building agencies also build really bad links. Even some of the biggest names in link building are still building really crappy links. So be careful where you're getting links from, guys. If you like the video, go ahead and give the video a like and give my channel a sub. It helps me out a lot. Head over to my website if you're interested in working together. And be sure to subscribe to get instant access to my shared SEO documents folder, including the AI editing checklist we talked about a bunch today. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.